All right, so let's talk about the awesomeness that is J. Jonah Jameson,
Yeah.
and just the
Still
perfect
iconic.
timing
That is
of him
perfect,
showing
yeah.
up in the film, perfect casting, you know what I mean, by J.K.
Yeah.
Simmons, Oscar winner, of course. His opening lines are so brilliant. Who is Spider-Man? He's a criminal. That's who he is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love that, right?
Well,
Um,
I need to say this. There's only one other actor who I thought could have pulled off Jameson. Ali Ermi, the drill
Yeah.
sergeant from
yeah.
the drill
Yeah.
sergeant from
He,
Full
he
Metal
was still
Jacket.
alive back
Right.
then, right? Yeah,
Right.
he was still alive back then.
Yeah.
I know he passed away, but
Yeah,
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
the other casting I had was some the guy who played Dr. Cox from Scrubs, John C. McClaney. He was a J. Jonah Jameson type in my opinion as well.
Oh, right, yeah, yeah. Also speaking of RIPs, boy Bill Nunn, aka Rita Rahim, right?
Yeah.
He's there as your sister as well.
right.
Also, Ted Raimi as a sister there too. I always thought that was funny that he's there, right? And he's always calling him like, yo, you'll be like, always call him to ask. Like he's always showing up to tell Jonah something. Jonah just says something quick and then he just goes back to his office. I love that.
And then with his Doctor Strange, it's taken. It's a 9.
Yes, that's in the second film. Yeah. Where it's like, oh, Dr. Octopus.
Yeah.
That sounds like crap. Doctor Strange. Oh, that's taken. I was like, ha. Kevin Feige, you saw that. Okay, I saw you. I saw you saw that, right?
It's coming.
It's coming, right?
It's coming.
I just love his bit though, where and by the way, also points for the movie bringing up Eddie Brock of all people. It's like, oh, Eddie Brock was unavailable, you know, something, right. But basically, I just love the whole setup where, you know, he just wants pictures of Spider-Man and you're willing to offer cash, right? And Jonah's last lines in his sequence, though, round of applause. He doesn't want to be famous.
I'll make him famous.
Round of applause.
Cigar in the mouth at all.
Love that. Yeah, any thoughts on any more thoughts on, you know, the awesomeness of J. Jonah Jameson?
No.
Absolute perfect casting. It just how he does work and thing. Sometime later in the film, they really do this great. He's really a good guy deep down thing, and I really love that. Like there's a small character beat. You know, he can sell out Peter. That comes later. He doesn't.
When the Green Goblin busts into the office.
Exactly right. Yeah, and he is he one of these bosses who will just lay his life down for his employees? You're not sure, right? Like it don't matter because it's just a simple character beat. He could have sold him out. He didn't. Love it.
Right.
Yeah.
So while all this is going on now, so we have to see where the lives of, you know, Peter and Mary Jane and Harry, you know, are, right. So MJ basically is working at this diner. You know, Harry's doing his thing as well. Actually, Harry and MJ are together now, and Harry so dread he didn't even bother to tell Peter, even though they're rooming together in this penthouse suite, basically at his dad's place, right? I mean, come on, man, Harry, like what kind of friend you gonna make, right? And then, well, you know, Pete, you know, he's trying to figure out what he's still trying to find a job, right? And then he sees on, you know, the Daily Bugle, you know, reward for photos of Spider-Man, right? So, you know, we get another great sequence where basically where Spider-Man, you know, takes pictures of himself, right, while he's fighting these these bank robbers. These armored truck robbers, basically, right? And this is where we get the moment where basically, right? And this is where we get the moment where Norman Osborn pretty much gets shafted by the other board members. It's like, yo, we just don't want you anymore. You know, we going through some changes now, so yeah, we just need to kick you out, right? And
he totally destroys Quest Aerospace to make sure the company stays afloat.
Right.
Yes. He does that whilst wearing the Green Goblin outfit early on, right? And you know the board members like, all right, we'll make the announcement during the Oscop Unity Day Festival, right?
Right.
Which is pretty much, you know, the Thanksgiving Day parade, right? And it's funny because it's only a few days later that it is Thanksgiving, right? And to talk about the parade itself, Macy Gray was in this.
Macy Gray cut, man.
Yeah, he will give me about this, right? So Hero was all over radio, right? And Macy Gray was big at the time, right? In the late 90s, early 2000s. So I was expecting this song to be like, to have like a music video or something to be on radio. I heard nothing. The only place where I heard this song is in this movie. I thought that was really weird.
Right. So I think this felt like reshoot stuff. Like all of this was supposed to be probably what do I call it? Like, you know, Twin Tower stuff, and they kind of had to cut it because this whole sequence, I like it, but it's clumsy. Like I admit that. Like a lot of these, it feels unfinished and kind of dated, and you know, I don't know. That's how it. So yeah,
Yeah. Well,
that's why this song not any popular thing. It's like, yeah, kind of weird, right?
Yeah, and it's just one of those songs that just kind of just there. It feels like a placeholder, unfortunately, right?
That's the
So
problem.
yeah, that's the problem, right? So right. So Peter's there, of course, Harry and MJ there and whatnot. Pete, kind of macroing what's going on with MJ through his camera lens, right? And then suddenly his spidey sense goes off, and Green Goblin makes his official introduction into Pete's life, right? And for the first time in the film, he starts using his pumpkin bombs because like, all right, we gotta get the pumpkin bombs, and he finally does, right?
That special effect with them turning into skeletons crack me up still, right?
It looks bad, but yeah, because he basically throws one at the board members, all of them, and just one flash, and they all turn into skeletons. I'm like, that's the best all he could do. Like really. I know PG-13, but oh gosh, man, come on, right? Let me just touch quickly on the goblins.
I just you were gonna comment on the goblin suit. I always wanted to say that, like the black leather outfit of the X-Men, this is just the Green Goblin suit was mainly just a product of the early 2000s, because when I was little, I didn't really have much of a problem with it. I was like, okay, how are you going to realistically translate the Green Goblin outfit into live action? I saw this as probably the best way they could do it, because I saw some costume tests like they did for this movie, and like they tried the rubber mask thing, and it just did not look good.
The technology just wasn't there because we didn't have the Deadpool technology yet. No, like you didn't have it, so it just wasn't there. So I could imagine they wanted to do it, and somebody could have get it in comics, so they make a choice. Again, it's all choices. Like it's fine, but I still think they could have just do other stuff with the choices in terms of what kind of decisions you could or couldn't have made going forward. And I don't know. It's again, it's a movie that we could have seen as opposed to what we had, right? Because 9/11, like if they had more time, or what they could have done in terms of making other kind of decisions. I don't know.
If they wanted to keep the costume like that, they could have added more like purple plating, or maybe splash some purple on the helmet or something.
But again, you don't know what kind of decision they could have made going forward. You don't know it is. But it's still a bad call one way or the other.
Yeah, that's true. It's really, for me personally, it's really the helmet that just doesn't work. The open mouth doesn't work. Seeing Willem Dafoe's mouth inside doesn't work.
But
just the alien-esque kind of design of the head and all doesn't work for me.
But the lighting itself looks off too. Like it's just like they clearly wasn't finished there now. Like in terms of like it's kind of like with Batman's outfit and the Whedon cut in Batman v Superman.
All right,
coloring and color correction all off, like it's terrible and looking bad. Like it's just that's how it feels. Like. But again, because of the nature of Raimi and his general cheapness in filmmaking, he kind of shoot around it anyway. No, it's fine.
I guess so. So of course, they have a fight. Me and Gobby and Spider-Man have a little fight. Of course, MJ is in trouble because she's on this ledge that's about to break off, and this is like the first of the screaming MJ moments. Where she's always, and it's one of those things that now I like, especially feminists will critique about the damsel in distress, right? And I know they will just zero in a lot on Kirsten Dunst's MJ character because she's always in distress, right?
Yeah,
but sorry.
She doesn't have a workable arc in that sense. I mean, it's still framed from Peter's perspective. No?
Exactly. I have to save her. That's it. I have to save MJ. Full stop.
Even before, just a little before that, can we just touch on the very annoying child? Because to this day, anytime I watch that, I understand fear can meet. I know fear can make you freeze. But this child just stands up there and watches this entire dumbass balloon
going crashing down.
What is making that scene so funny, Tracy, is the wind that's blowing on his face.
On his face?
He's seeing this breeze blowing on him, and he's just like,
It's like the lowest expression on his face. But yes.
No, but thanks for bringing that up too, boy. Like when I see that again, I was like, "What? Like, dude, you're just there basically for Spider-Man to swing it and save you, bro. Like, is this why you're there? Is this why you're there? Whatever, right?" Afterwards, right, we get this brilliant piece of acting from Willem Dafoe, right, where he's doing the whole Jekyll and Hyde thing, with Norman Osborn and Green Goblin. This is where basically Norman learns about who the secret identity is, right? Because they pretty much playing it off like, "Oh, I don't know who killed the board members. Was that me? do and all that kind of stuff, right? I mean, yes, it's done with a mirror and all that kind of stuff, but just the acting and just that sniveling voice and just the guy's face, just Willem's face, like I mean, like and speaking of Green Goblin, though, so J. Jonah Jameson is the one who come up with the name Green Goblin. That's it's a nitpick of mine, like, oh, he's the one who come up with the name, so let's call him the Green Goblin. And the second one, let's call him Dr. Octopus, right? I mean,
well, I don't.
So why can't the villains name themselves? I mean,
no, they won't. That don't make any sense.
No.
Why would it do that? I want to be a
folder
villain, right? What is going to be my name?
No,
I have no name. I just want to be a
That don't
villain.
make any
Dude, name yourself, bro. That's
So why would
that's
why
the
would you
point.
name yourself? That don't make any
yeah.
If
Yeah,
a
because-
hero could name himself, why a villain can't name himself? Just saying.
No, why, the thing is, the Carnival Barker shitty newspaper guy is supposed to be the one coming up with these goofy names. It's like Wacko Jacko. It's like that. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
Like when
because
Okay, I
like
got
that
you.
too, after
The sensationalism of it. I got you.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the idea.
My
Yeah, that's
thing
something.
is,
What-
if
He's
Lex
selling, maybe
can-
running a rag now. So it's like,
Yeah.
one thing though, Aquaman. Remember why the supervillains don't name themselves? Watch Aquaman when Ocean Master's like, call me Ocean Master. It's like, yo, this is not working. That is why supervillains don't name themselves.
Yeah. And speaking of Jonah Jameson, right? So a moment that I legit forgot about, right? And I won't lie, it made me jump, right? So this is where Pete comes in now, and he's giving all these pictures, like, nah, I don't want them, and just get away from me and all that kind of stuff. Or I think he didn't want to pay him that much money, right? So at the moment as Peter leaves, Joe, you see Jonah's cigar is thrown through the window behind him, and it just lands in front of him, right? And then boom,
Yeah.
a Green Goblin just blasts through the window. Dude. I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
I forgot about that, Trey, but I can't remember if I jumped when I saw that back then, though, but I probably would have see that for the first time. Holy crap.
And, there's another funny meme involving that and me. So everybody's making that.
I'm going to get to the Aunt May scene.
Right,
I'm
yeah.
going to get to that, right?
I'll make, the meme. I know the meme as well. There's a really
Yeah.
funny meme as well. Yeah.
Right. So basically, Green Goblin wants to know who's the photographer who's taking pictures of Spider-Man, right?
Right.
Of course, Peter's there, so Spider-Man shows up to save Jonah, right? And Gobby unleashes some sleeping gas. Of course, it knocks him out, right?
Which was kind of dumb, but whatever.
Yeah, it is, right?
a little too quick, but whatever. Yeah, go ahead.
And basically, it's just Gobby just basically talk to him, like trying to persuade him to pretty much join the dark side, right? And
Right.
he has to fly off, like, all right,
this-
gotta give you time to think about it, right? I was like,
This is
all right.
interesting. Yeah,
Okay.
this is interesting. So you talk about how we better than everybody, and they'll try to tear us down and all kind of thing.
Yes.
And
yes.
it's such a weird turn for Goblin, because I know Goblin's supposed to be like he have a mental health problem and he's rich, but they decide to do the whole Randian rich businessman Edward, rich businessman thing now, Ayn Rand thing. And I was like, wait, is this a nod to Steve Ditko or something? Like, why make Goblin like this in this movie? It's such a weird call, like have him be like this. Well, we're super people and we're better than everybody kind of thing. What?
Yeah,
Like,
it's kind of weird. Like
and the only
I know the
explanation
show was reaching towards something. They're just trying to reach
Right.
for something more,
no, right, but,
more,
and right, again,
more existential in a sense. But it's like,
Right.
well,
More-
Spider-Man,
right.
do like, all right.
Yeah, exactly. But my only explanation is that is objectivism, and it's, well, if you know who Steve Ditko is, he's very instrumental in creating Spider-Man. He was an objectivist. Like, okay, that kind of makes some sense. Like his worldview and philosophy, yeah, that kind of stuff. Now. And I wondered, I keep thinking that was an homage to him. Like that is the homage to him. Instead of just mentioning his stuff. I don't know. That is a weird.
All right.
It's a real
Yeah.
weird.
It's kind
Right,
of full circle when you think about it, coming later on into No Way Home.
Right.
Because it's not the same speech, but it's the idea of that speech that he then
Right.
gives to the room of villains that
Yeah.
Electro takes. We're gods. We don't
Exactly.
ask.
It's
who
a
to.
villain speech, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the typical we better than everybody else, and we better by the right of kings or nature or whatever it is, right? Usual, it's not objectivism, like if you know the worldview, right? And
We're just a product of natural selection, man.
or whatever, right? And they make it work for what it is. But it's like it's such a but it's Steve Ditko though. It's like it's such a blatant Steve Ditko conceit. I don't know, like why do this for this villain thing? Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, moving on, right? So of course, Jonah being Jonah, calls Spider-Man a bad guy, right? And the man had the gall to take Peter's pictures, use them and put them up in the front page, basically calling out Spider-Man to be a villain, right? That was cool, right? And then we get the moment which is pretty much for the ladies, which is, where, Pete runs into MJ, right? And then, like, right after they leave, rain falls, and conveniently, these two muggers follow her, right? And then two muggers become four. MJ surrounded. Spider-Man shows up to beat up the muggers.
Right.
And, like, at that point in time, he didn't even get a chance to put on his mask, right? So I love that there's a moment where he ducks into this alleyway and then puts it on, right? And, they have a little chat and whatnot. And then we get the moment that was all over the marketing. So when you see it play out, like in the film, it's like, yeah, it's still a nice scene. I mean, this is where, Spidey's hanging down, rain's falling. And,
the upside down kiss.
The upside down kiss. It is the most iconic shot in the franchise, in my opinion.
It is.
It totally sells. It totally sells the shots. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so those you're right. It totally sells the film, right? And it's to the point, though. I remember parodies of this. I remember in particular the MTV Movie Awards, Kids Ask Their Parents, right? Where they parodied that the same year, I believe it was, right?
And Wonder Woman showed up, right? Was that?
I can't remember. Like it was 2004. Like it was the good old days when the MTV Movie Awards actually mattered, right? Again, Kids Ask Their Parents, right? But yeah, guys, any quick thoughts on the upside down kiss, right?
Yeah, it is the most iconic shot in the franchise, like in my opinion. Like that's the thing that sells the thing. It's not the best scene or best sequence. It's just as a shot, just as a Spider-Man, you're raining and everybody wet, so that is a shorthand for much like the ejaculate stuff, right? No different, right? It's the same shorthand stuff. And what I like about it is it balances not being it's cheesy, but not too cheesy. It's not creepy, and it's not too sexy. It just balanced just right amount of romance, just enough to make it work, right? And they make it work for what it is, because it doesn't feel sleazy or anything like that. But everybody wet and soaking, right? So that's the shotgun, right? So whatever. But yeah, that's how they make it work. I find it's really well balanced and well done. Just right enough in terms of like how to get that whole sequence played out. Yeah, it works.
Yeah, and well executed though. I mean, props for Toby boy for being able to hang on for that long, right? Y'all have anything else to say?
How it was. They talked about how impractical that shoot was, because I mean obviously you have water running through your nose, and it was I can't remember who it was saying it, but basically the gist was it's a very unromantic shoot to evoke a romantic moment, because that whole being wet and you're upside down and the blood going wherever it's going, and then of course the water running up your nose, and how it felt for him and how it felt for her. But yeah,
it was Toby who was saying that the water was like filling up his sinuses when he was upside down like that.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Right.
I would have given up, Jed. Given how easy my sinuses is really. So, but anyway, right? So now.
But this, that whole scene is iconic. The whole movie is iconic. There's a lot of iconic shots in the film. But one thing I want to crap on the scene for is Mary Jane. Yo, you going up with Harry, and I understand things are maybe a little bit on the rocks. You're flirting with Peter a few minutes ago, and now you're kissing Spider-Man. Mary Jane.
Hey, to be fair, he did save her twice, right?
Whatever. Mary Jane.
It's the 2000s, guys. I mean, what you gonna do, right? What you gonna do? So up next, we have, the apartment building scene. This is where, this random apartment building is on fire. Spider-Man decides to go in to save the day, right? I almost said Superman. Oops. And it's just the setup of it all, though. Like, here of all places is where Green Goblin's hiding, and the way how he hides is, I'm gonna dress in this old shawl, right? And I'm gonna, go like I'm some old lady, right? But like execution wise, it's kind of sloppy, right? Because it's like, what do you think about my offer? Like, he's trying to bring up the whole offer thing from before and Spider-Man is like, never, that kind of vibe now, you know what I mean? But you think they'd pick a much better situation to bring this up, you know what I mean? Like, you want to do this in the middle of this fire where it have like a few people who need saving. But anyway, right?
But it does lead to a really good fight sequence. So
that's what's gonna bring up, right? Especially that slow-mo though with the spinning blades. Like even when he saw it in the trailers, I was like, alright, that look hard, that look real hard. I love that, right? But the ending of it is kind of goofy with the where Spider-Man escapes, of course, right, to avoid getting burnt, right? And Gobby saying, "No one says no to me." That is so goofy, man. But yeah, any thoughts on that scene?
It is cheesy though. It really is cheesy. Like, especially in the line at the Unity Day festival when Gobby is like, "We'll meet again, Spider-Man." It's like, yo, this is really cheesy.
really cheesy. Yeah. There's a cool moment actually where Norman realizes that Peter is Spider-Man though. Is the whole thing with there's some blood, but some blood drips and Norman's wondering where it came from, and then there's the Thanksgiving dinner that they have at his place though, and Aunt May is there, and he notices his gash on his arm. It's like, where you get that from? It's like, oh, I was on my bike and I fell, right? So great little reveal there, in terms of,
Was it a bike messenger who clipped him or something along those lines?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Bike messenger who clipped it, right? Because at the time he didn't have the bike, the little dirt bike thing in the second movie as yet. Okay, oops. I forgot. Oops, right. Let me just talk for a bit about the Aunt May prayer scene and just how dark it is. But it's darker, but at the same time, you're just kind of smiling at how menacing it is, right? It's as she says now, but deliver us, and Gobby just literally blows a hole through her bedroom window.
Right. So the meme is like, the meme deliver us, right? Yeah. So everybody, the joke with this is the meme is that she got her back blown out.
Oh god. Oh god.
I was like, Gobby, why didn't you kill her?
You know. No, but it's the whole mentality that was brought up now with the Jekyll and Hyde scene is, to kill Spider-Man, we must attack his heart, right? We must attack those who we love, right? But the moment that really makes it dark though is his finish it, and she's like from evil. It's the finishing that makes it so brutal, boy. But other than that, the scene is over the top. It is really over the top, but I love it though. I love it.
The two scripture verses used in this film, I always chuckle to this day how it is used. And then the notion of suffer the little children coming later on down, which has a different connotation. But the idea of how Goblin uses it has always been something that cracks me up, both those times.
And thank goodness she survives to her, but in retrospect, I would have lose those eyes, those horrible yellow eyes. I would have lose that line. It's just a lot. It's just a lot. You know what I mean?
But it was just to let Peter know that, hey, Goblin knows who you are.
Yep.
True, right? And speaking of which, though, so Aunt May is at the hospital. She's resting, right? MJ meets with Pete. And he finally reveals that he loves her, but he kind of talks about it through the perspective of how he describes MJ to Spider-Man, right? And it just ends basically with MJ reaching out to Pete's hand, holding it for a bit now, and then when Harry shows up now, he kind of notices that they're holding hands, and then they kind of pull away, right? So later on, he go like a little whiny bitch. He goes and tells his dad that, oh, MJ chose Pete over me, right? And I love just Norman just being Norman. It's like, all right, now I have a reason now to kill Spider-Man because he allowed MJ to break my son's heart, so now I must kill Spider-Man. I just love that whole vibe of it though. It kind of makes it kind of Shakespearean in a sense, right? So he kicks off his plan now by kidnapping MJ and putting her basically in the top section of this I believe is this bridge basically, right?
But I have to ask, for those people who are Spider-Man comic book fans and who went to see this movie in the theater, how many people went, oh shit, are they really gonna do this?
They're doing this Gwen Stacy thing.
Yeah, the Gwen Stacy.
The Gwen Stacy thing. Yeah.
I was like,
I noticed that immediately.
Yeah, I was like, is Goblin really gonna kill Mary Jane?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and then he also, before I forget, he also blows up this compartment. So he's holding this tram car basically, right? It has kids and a few adults inside, right? So he's holding like the cable to that, right? And while he's holding on to MJ, threatening to drop her, right? And then we get, in my opinion, my favorite line, top favorite line in the whole movie. We are who we choose to be. Now choose. So he drops MJ, he drops the cable, right? And well, thankfully, Spidey catches them. He catches her first, then he grabs the cable, right? He can't hold on to both for long, so pretty much begging MJ to climb down the cable, right? And if you notice, at that moment he's seeing MJ and Mary Jean, right? And that's the moment where, I imagine, well, MJ during this whole debacle is like, oh, okay, this guy knows me, or this guy is clearly Peter Parker, just judged by his voice, right? He's not trying to hide it or anything like that, right? And there's this barge that's coming as well too, so he's trying to hold on until this barge comes in, right? I always love the uppercut that Gobby does to Spidey, though, while he's holding on. This kind of flies in and just blow, just straight up uppercut Spider-Man, though, you know what I mean? But luckily for him, he grabs the cable in time, and MJ manages to grip her hands on the roof of the tram car, right? Then we get this great moment now where the citizens, they summon them on top of the
shout out to New Yorkers.
Yeah, shout out to New Yorkers, boy, right? New York to the fullest, right? On the bridge itself, and they just throwing all this garbage at Green Goblin. It's like, yo, you don't be mess with Spider-Man, right? You don't be mess with it. And have this one black guy, right, who's like, I got something for your ass. You mess with Spidey, you mess with New York, right? Yeah, and you're right, Ricardo. This is 9/11. 9/11. Yeah, this is just rising up from 9/11. That's what it is, right? And that's what makes the scene totally work, right? The tram car is landed safely on the barge, and the kids are okay, right? So that's nice.
It really made me feel like Spidey is the people's hero. It really made me feel that way.
Yeah, that's what they were building him to be, right?
It's a scene, to be fair, it's a scene that would work one way or the other, even if it wasn't for 9/11. Like, clearly they wanted bigger aspirations, but we're not sure. Again, it's difficult to tell behind the scenes. But yeah, it would have worked one way or the other. That's why it's not a big problem. It's very organic anyway, Like, yeah, he is a product of New York. Even though we're not sure how popular he is at this point. However, again, the second film does this so much better, but yeah, well.
Yeah, I guess so, right? So, as we're wrapping up here, right? So Green Goblin uses his cable to grab Spider-Man and basically slams him through a building. I love how the music cuts off here. It's very similar to, that Batman and Bean fight in Dark Knight Rises, where you really have to heighten everything and make everything seem more brutal than it actually is. And I would say, though, like, just as far as like the Spider-Man trilogy as a whole, this scene in particular is the most brutal that I've seen, though, which is just basically Green Goblin beating the shit out of Spider-Man. But like, my
straight up, this is Raimi at his horror movie best. Like how it cut sound effects, how sometimes the sound used to go out for it. Spidey going. There's another meme, by the way. You say, for people like me, I don't know if you follow already, like computer or tech nerd, but you'll talk about how you'll spend so much for a graphics card or a keyboard, but your drawers looking like Spider-Man tear up, in the scene. Right, there's another meme. This scene is excellent. Like it really plays like a horror movie because it's like, you realize how goddamn strong Goblin is, how dangerous he is. He ain't fucking around here at all.
Exactly. I love how this scene in particular just doesn't hold. It doesn't pull any punches at all. I saw this when I was young when it came out, right? But I imagine, like, I think I remember, like, in the audience, everybody was quiet. Everybody was quiet. It's not like, kids were crying and whatnot. It was just like you realize the seriousness of it all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and this when I first saw it, I remember feeling sorry for Spider-Man, yo. I was like,
me too.
I was feeling sorry for Spider-Man because you still need to remember this is just a kid. This is just a kid, and he's still getting.
That's what makes it even worse. Yeah.
He getting his shit beaten out of him. So it's like I really felt sorry for him in this moment.
Yeah. Goblin delivers another favorite quote of mine. I'll just read it out here. You spun your last web, Spider-Man. Had you not been so selfish, your little girlfriend's death would have been quick and painless. But now that you really pissed me off, I'm going to finish her nice and slow.
And
the delivery of that line, though, that I love. It's so icy cold, but I love it. Yeah, piss.
And you can see his mouth inside the mouth going.
Especially when he does it ice.
That's another thing. That's another thing about the Goblin thing. Is that they could just do like rubber mask stuff. And just have it be Willem Dafoe emoting through the material now, because they've been doing that on Star Trek for however long. So I don't know, they could have done that instead, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. But that moment though is so chilling though. And this is the delivery by Dafoe is perfect. Star Trek makeup. Right. Make it look like the actual.
Right.
Yeah,
just done that maybe. But the whole point is that it's a mask and it's so you have no mutation or anything like that. And that would be kind of weird. Like, why is the mask looking like that? Whatever.
Yeah, and again, you have to sell it for people who not familiar with the story, right? So,
Right,
yeah.
exactly. Right.
But it's the anger in Pete's face that sells the moment, though. And yeah, though, like the man literally bring the wall, well, basically a broken part of a wall, down on Gobby Dread, and Spidey just sat, like, just literally kicking ass, and it's like, yes, you know what I mean? But there's a moment where Gobby's like, Peter, stop, it's me, right? And then he takes off his mask, and he's just kind of talking like, it's Green Goblin, he's been talking to me, right? And it's the whole, he I didn't want to do what he was telling me to do, all that kind of stuff, right? But it's a nice deflection because he presses a button and then he activates the glider, right? And of course, Spider-Man with his Spidey sense picks up on it, so he does a flip, he does a backflip, and then the bleed and the glider just sticking him.
There's another line. There's a me blind. Yeah, Godspeed Spider-Man.
Yes. Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead. Finish what you were going to say.
Yeah, there's a moment where the Green Goblin side clicks in, right? And then he says something about the whole father thing. No, what he says is basically, I've been like a father to you, be a son to me now, right? And then Pete responds, I have a father, his name is Ben Parker.
Yeah.
Love it, round of applause. Love it, right?
Line. Yeah.
And that's when the Spidey sense goes off and he does the flip, right? But is how Willem Dafoe says, oh.
Yeah.
He gets stuck to us. Like, oh.
And again, this is some real, Sam Raimi camera work. How the camera is looking like it's speeded up towards him. It's how they use it. Yeah, sharp.
Yeah. And I love his last words though, Peter, don't tell Harry, right? I love that, right? So Spidey brings Norman's body, home basically, right? And Harry shows up. He goes, what have you done, right? And then Spider-Man flees off, right? That's what starts off the whole hate between between Norman and Spider-Man, right? In the second film, basically he learns who Spider-Man is, right? But that's another story for another day, right? And then we just get to the funeral now, on Norman's funeral. Pete tries to console Harry, but he's all like, Spider-Man killed my dad, and I must avenge him and all that kind of stuff. I love how, his story arc pretty much ends at that particular point, right? Pete goes to his uncle's graveside, which I always thought was pretty interesting, because I always kind of remembered, the final moments of the film being centered on Norman's funeral, right? But yeah, he actually goes to his uncle's gravesite, and MJ is there to console him, right? And then she reveals that she loves Pete, and she's thinking about him when she was in trouble, and they kiss and all that kind of stuff, and he always like, oh, all right. But this is a great character moment here where Peter's like, I just want to be with you, but I can't tell you everything right now, because deep down he feels, and he doesn't tell her that, but deep down he feels that if she knows who he is, then her life will be in danger, right? And see how that conflict is more or less addressed in the second film, right?
Yeah.
So I love how he says, I'll always be a friend. Which is a great twist on the whole, the hero gets a girl at the end of the film, right? But it was like, I just can't be with you right now. I'm sorry, right? I just love how he just kind of walks away, just leaving her there. That's just great character development, right? I just love how it flips the whole, because he was, this knight in shining armor. Of course, he's gonna get the girl in the end, but it's like, no, look at what I went through. I'm sorry. It's now is not the time, right?
Yeah.
And
then, after the kiss,
coupled with the ending narration, it really feels like Peter has come of age.
Yes. I love that, right? And then, in comparison to the opening narration, it makes sense where, his story is not for the faint of heart, right? Because yes, while there is exhilaration to being Spider-Man, there's a lot of sacrifice with it, a lot of pain in being that hero too, right? I just love how they nail that at the end, right? And there's a moment like when whilst Peter's walking away, where MJ is like, oh wait, the kiss, because like she recognizes it somehow. It's like, oh my god, is he? And it's stopping right there, right?
I can tell upside down and right side up.
I know, right? Right. And in closing, though, he does his final bit of narration, right? And then he ends it, of course, with, who am I? I'm Spider-Man, right? Yeah. And then we get that final swinging sequence. God, I love that scene.
Great. I mean, they make it by far superior in the second film, but there's still great scenes, whatever it is. But it still looks great, I find. And then, they just come, him flipping up to the flag.
The American flag, yes.
The American flag at the end. And it's like, it's smart. And great choice.
It's how Danny Elfman's music swells at that particular point. Like when, I won't lie, though, as I get close to Montes, when I hear this music, when I see all this it just moves me so much, too. Yeah. Just as such a great way to end the movie, right? Then, of course, you hear, Hero, which ends off the song, though. And by the way, points points. At the very end, near the very end of the end credits, you hear the 60s Spider-Man team.
Right,
I was like, yes, thank you. Love that, right? So in closing with, this first Spider-Man movie, while it is not one of my, all-time favorite, superhero movies, though, this is one of the most enjoyable by far, though. This was, just the blockbuster, it was just like it just came out at a great time though, with the blockbuster film, and just with audiences started to get used to big budget superhero films that don't suck, right? So it was within that period, and it's from Marvel as well too. So it's like, yes, Marvel was on a roll with that one, right? Because previous to that, there was X-Men as well too, right? But it was really the timing of it that really makes it work though, just coming out months after 9/11. So yeah, he was that hero that we all needed, right? In retrospect, there are a few kind of cheesy moments, like unintentionally cheesy moments, a few narrative things I wouldn't really care for. But in that though, it's what really makes it work is the heart though. There's a lot of heart to this, right? The performances great across the board. Tobey Maguire is fan-freaking-tastic as Spider-Man. We could talk for days about just how iffy, the costume is, but Green Goblin just made for a formidable villain though. Even though he is outshined to this day by Doc Ock, right, who still remains the best villain in this Sam Raimi series, right? And lastly, Sam Raimi, boy, he just knocked it out the park with this one, boy. Like I thought, well, Darkman was like going to be the first and last time he would attempt, superheroics, right? But here he just put everything. He just raised the bar so high with this film, though, and then of course he would just raise it even further with Spider-Man 2. By so yeah, this was a strong start to what would have been a great superhero trilogy. But yeah, as it stands on its own, it's just a fantastic and dare I say amazing superhero film, man. So for me, I'm gonna give this a decent, strong 4 out of 5, man. This is just a bona fide classic, and it easily ranks amongst the best superhero films ever made, right? Although to be fair, Spider-Man 2 is the best out of all of in this trilogy by far, man. But yeah, you have to give credit where credit is due. You wouldn't have part 2 if it wasn't for part 1, right? So there we go. Ricardo, last thoughts on rating, man.
Yeah. This was our big flashpoint for superhero cinema. Well, the next movie we're going to talk about was the next flashpoint, but this one was like a real big deal for people. It was amazing. Just the idea of just this weird offbeat author filmmaker doing Spider-Man of all things. That's like hearing that Paulie Shogun win the Oscar or something like that. Like it's just insane. Like at the time, people when Sam Raimi was announced as doing director for Spider-Man, like what? That was mad, Judd. That was like insane for a lot of people. And so, and it just ended up working out as an amazing success overall. His filmmaking stylization, the hyper-realization of New York City under this feel and look, in the Spider-Man comic book. Just a bunch of the casting choices, his directing choices, in terms of just where the camera is, where it should be, and how it should look. Absolutely love it. Yeah, this movie is a marvelous work. No pun intended.
That's the term I should have used. Marvelous.
Marvelous work. No pun intended. But yeah, it just really, really well done, and it only gets better from here. With the sequel. Truly fantastic. A big flashpoint for superhero cinema, and it's amazing that he get that. That big budget people should do more with this. I put the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man up there with the Christopher Reeve Superman in terms of you can't really top this. You're not gonna top it. Don't try to top it. Don't try to do anything different with it. There's it. It's there for me. So yeah. Rating, probably like a 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 maybe. Only because the where the sequel goes is like, oh shit, they blow you out of the water with that. So it's like as I say, if it wasn't for the again all the little smaller nitpicky things, and again you can only because of the very extraneous circumstances of September 11th. You had to make that argument. But again, counterfactual. It's next to impossible to argue one way or the other. So that's the only thing that is kind of hamstrung it, kind of. But, other than if you ignore that stuff, it doesn't, break the movie or anything like that. Yeah, absolutely love this movie, Joe.
Right. Tracy, quick final thoughts and rating.
I'll give you my final ratings first off. So it's really a 4 out of 5 for me. I still can watch it. I have no problem with it. It is one of those movies that I still actually very much love. for what it is and for what it was at the time and for what it is. The thing that I do with movies like this is that I like to go back and remember that Kevin Feige was a producer, associate producer, and that sort of stuff within the Marvel realm before Marvel Studios came into play. Like even now, he's listed as an uncredited executive producer for Spider-Man in 2002. And I think of where Spider-Man started and where it is now, and knowing that like Kevin, because I'm not one of those people who believes that he knows everything under the sun, but he's been in this machine long enough, seeing Tobey doing his pelvis dance and all the other stuff that happens in Spider-Man 3, etc., to know where to take a franchise moving forward. But I still have a great deal of love for the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and I'm not gonna lie, when I saw him in No Way Home, I legitimately had feelings. So yeah, 4 out of 5 for me.
And last but not least, Daniel, final thoughts and rating.
Well, man, after 20 years, the movie still holds up.
Yeah.
Except it still holds up, except for that one stupid line in the wrestling match. Whatever. Yeah, I would give this movie a strong 8 out of 10. I reserving my 9 for Spider-Man 2 because Spider-Man 2 was just, a good follow-up, a superior sequel to a really good movie. I don't minor complaints with the Goblin suit. Just a really good step forward for superhero cinema. I mean, of course, we had Blade in 1998 that showed what was possible. Then we had X-Men in 2000, which great stepping stones. Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man, was also a great stepping stone, and watching the first Spider-Man and then Avengers back to back, it was really wow to see how far superhero cinema had come from 2000 to 2012.
I know, boy. That is amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, strong 8 out of 10. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Great hero's journey.
Yes, indeed.